anyway, here we are, another bull session, as it's called. We're in our office with Alex and Galina. And first of all, it's, of course, Valentine's Day today.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. I was a little late in booking a restaurant, so all I was able to get was the 5:15 seating. Whew! At least I got something.
Yeah.
So we're going out tonight. How about you? Got any special plans?
Maybe a romantic dinner.
You're hoping, or you have already know about it?
I know.
Okay, good. Maybe, you know, she's waiting for hubby to invite her.
Yeah.
In other words, your husband's not saying, cook me a romantic dinner?
No.
No, that would not be a winner. He would be very, very foolish if he tried that. He tried that once before and it didn't work?
No.
No.
He wouldn't dare.
He wouldn't dare. And Alex, you have any plans?
Nothing special.
Nothing special.
Yeah.
All right. One thing that I thought we'd talk a bit about is, sometimes you hear people say, all languages are equally difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was just thinking about Korean. And, you know, after 2 months of Romanian, I could listen to a radio program about history or news, and I understood 60–70% of it. Why? Because, first of all, Romanian is pronounced exactly the way it's written. It's written in the Roman alphabet. 70% of the vocabulary is almost identical to Italian, pronounced like Italian. I mean, it's easy.
Yeah.
Korean, I spent, I don't know, 5 times as much time on Korean. I'm nowhere. If I listen to a podcast about politics or history, I mean, I get the odd word. So how can you possibly say that all languages are equally difficult? What's been your experience with this? Now, Galina, you have, of course, your English is flawless, and now you're learning French. And have you dabbled in any other? How do you find French compared to English?
More difficult.
More difficult.
More difficult, but to some degree, it's easy for me because many words, Russian words, were borrowed from French, so I can recognize them, like corridor and something like that. And
but there's not many of those.
Yes, but yeah.
The odd one. The odd one.
No, but in terms of pronunciation and some grammar rules, it's difficult for me.
I mean, you mentioned pronunciation. I mean, Romanian is easier to pronounce than Portuguese. So if you're a speaker of Spanish, you know, Italian is easier, even though Spanish is closer to Portuguese. And I'm particularly talking about the Portuguese that's spoken in Portugal, where they kind of chew up their vowels. It's more difficult. French is more difficult because it's not written the way it's pronounced. You know, and then the writing system is huge. Like even when I went to study Czech, even though I studied Russian for a much longer period of time, it's more difficult even now after all the Russian. I don't know how many millions of words of Russian I've read. It's more difficult reading in an alphabet that you're not so familiar with. Now, I don't know how that affects Russians, but I guess they read so much in the Roman alphabet that it doesn't bother them.
Yeah, I think
or is it still that much easier to read in the Russian alphabet?
Yeah, I think it's easier.
It's easier, but the difference may be not so great because you have so much more exposure.
Right.
How about you? You dabbled in, Alex, in Chinese.
Yeah,
And French too.
I've dabbled in a few different languages. French, I learned for longer than Chinese. I mean, Chinese, you can't. It's not there's no correlation really between sound and what you see.
Right.
Like some people say, oh, this radical is the same here, but in fact, 90% of the time you have no idea.
Right.
French is also difficult because French, it's difficult when you're listening to try and transcribe because there's all these hidden hidden letters that appear in the text, but you don't say. That being said, I studied French for 4 years in high school, and which is like very part-time, not really focusing that much on it, not working that hard. And then I've studied Korean for 6.5 years, quite actively, in fact, much more actively than I ever studied French. And I can definitely read French faster than I can read Korean, easily. Like, there's no comparison.
Well, in French, you have 60% of the vocabulary is the same as English.
Yeah.
So how can that not be easier? You know?
Totally.
So there are some compensating factors in Chinese. The biggest hurdle is learning all the characters. you know, you talk about Russian. Russian is difficult because of the grammar. Russian people don't realize that, but the grammar.
Even for Russian people.
Even for Russian people,
Sometimes
it's so complicated. Chinese grammar is actually very easy. It's very straightforward. Now, some purists will come forward and say that there's this, that, and the other, but in fact, no. It's word order is very similar to English, and the grammar is quite easy. But you have tones, the pronunciation issue, and you don't have a phonetic script. So no, the languages are not all equally difficult.
Yeah,
I would say.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we agree. I wonder what people out there think.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.